Hedgehog Hollow. We're delighted to be back with Waffle Flower and Hopping as part of their new release. So don't forget to check all the details in the video description. There'll be a link to the blog post and how you can find out more about this new Waffle Flower release. But I have everything here, so let's take a look at it. We have lots of new items in the release that are part of organization. I know how much you all love organization, just like me. And this adds on to their swatching collection. Plus we have a couple of other items as well. So let's take a look. We have this little bullet list. So those of you who love planning, planners, those kinds of things. I love my Erin Condren planner. You have these that you can stamp in, or if you do like the Canvo, the bullet journals and things, you can add these into there. So perfect for that. You also have this combo swatch, and I'm going to be showing you some swatching ideas in today's video and sharing some of my top tips, which is why I have lots of fun supplies out here. And there's a combo swatch tag die, so this of course fits in here perfectly, so you can put them on a ring if you want to, and there's a reinforcement piece to go on the top too, so if you want to reinforce that top as you're flipping through them. We also have the color combos. So you've got the numbers at the top here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 in a different way, and then coordinating dies to go with them. I'm going to show you some cool things about the stamps and dies from Waffle Flower and the storage envelopes that these come in too. So they've done some repackaging over the last kind of 6 to 12 months. You know I'm all a big Waffle Flower fan. I particularly liked Helen Dardick, which is one of their illustrators. And I'm going to show you why this new packaging they've got is super cool. Then we also have the color combos tag die, so you can put multiple of them in one piece as well. So that all goes together here. And then these are the non-organizational options. So we have this gorgeous flower here from Carla. Look at this beautiful flower. It reminds me a little bit of some of the Tim Holtz flowers. Think of like alcohol lifting or doing a watercolor. Embossing resist would look beautiful on here. There are coordinating dies as well, which is a great idea too. So this is Bouquet Builder 5. And just so many gorgeous ideas that we got with this. So again, you've got the same options, and I'm going to talk you through some of the things you can do with their storage. We have big dot sentiments, so enjoy every moment, be well, my friend. You're awesome, thanks, hello, love you, congrats. You make me so proud, happy birthday just for you, sending happy mail. Again, comes in that really nice thick envelope in this one here. But I just like these ones because they're a nice statement sentiment. They're nice and square when we want to cut them out on a card, something I always really like too. You could put them on a piece of vellum and put them over a nice strong background stamp. They'd work really well with the Bouquet Builder too on a piece of vellum, or you could use them inside of a card. So a really nice versatile sentiment. And then there's this big dots die, which I'm going to take out because I have so many ideas with this. And I also think you could use it for organization too. Maybe for like swatching out palettes because of the way the dots are organized. Or you could do paper piecing. You could do just little dots of watercolor in here. I think there's so many different things you could do. And then it embosses this little sentiment area in the middle, which of course is going to fit your sentiments from here perfectly. Hence it's called big dots, but of course you could add anything you wanted into here. And then you've got lots of different options of how you fill these dots in here. You could put lots of different fun things. You could have a background stamp and just let bits of it peek through. You could take little characters and maybe peek some heads through in different areas. But as I say, I would also use it maybe for swatching and different things too. So I think there's lots of different things you could do with big dots. But today I wanted to go through some swatching ideas, and I am going to do a live to talk about whether to swatch or not to swatch. I used to swatch a lot more than I do now. And I'm going to do a live video talking about pros and cons because I want to talk about why I went from swatching to not swatching. But I did particularly like these color combos. But again, I wanted to talk to you about these little storage envelopes. So if you buy coordinating stamps and dies from Waffle Flower, they come in these storage envelopes. You can see here they're really nice and thick. Your stamp fits in the front here, but this is how the dies come. So these are the smaller dies. They come in their plastic packaging, which you can take out like this. And then they have a second piece of the envelope. It's divided at the back for your die to slot in. Got mine caught. So you can keep everything together, which I think is really nice. And then they seal up. There's a little tab My nails are getting a bit long, but you can see there's a little tab so they can go in there. So I really like how everything can be stored together. And then the larger ones have the same, but these large ones, let me grab this out of here, they actually come with magnet in the back. So this one here has the magnetic piece. There is a piece of cardboard in the front, and it does still stick even through the cardboard. You can see here how I can rearrange these around accordingly and put them back in their place. And so what you can do then is take this piece. I don't like to keep this big piece. I like to remove this out the back. And then you can slide these into the divider. And again, you can purchase these envelopes separately from Waffle Flower. We'll add some links in the description for you. But I like that you can keep everything together and that they're in separate slots. So your stamps and dies don't kind of get all caught up together. And then you've got like this little lip in the back where you can tie everything up together. So it just works really nicely there. But that's what I wanted to talk to you about is color combos, some of my top tips as well. So let's talk about those. So I'm going to take out my Color Combos stamp set here, which is in the front. We're going to stamp some out. So I grabbed some distress inks, I've got watercolors here, I have my favorite little blending brushes. So I did a review of different options, and these ones turned out to be my favorite and in my little favorite holder. And if you wanted to watch that video, we'll link it in the top right hand corner for you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose just a couple of different ones. And I like to stick them down on here while I'm kind of thinking about things. And I'll grab a piece of paper and let me see if my Misti's here, and it is. So I'm going to stamp them out twice. Once just on regular cardstock, and then I'm going to stamp them out once on watercolor cardstock. So we'll pop them on here. I'm going to use some Gina Amalgam ink, which is my favorite because I can use it on any kind of surface, just like this. And then I can use any kind of ink with it as well, which is great. I don't really have to think. And I have ordered a re-inker for this. And I'm going to do a video on re-inking. That's the reason I haven't re-inked it, is because lots of you have said to me, how do I actually re-ink my ink pads? How do I know if I've added enough ink onto my ink pads? All those kinds of things. So we are going to do a video on how to do that. So in the meantime, I'm just going to stamp everything out a couple of times. But of course, because I have a Misti, that's super easy to do. So one thing you're going to need is some post-it tape to make this really simple for you. So what I wanted to do was just add my post-it tape onto one section. What I thought would be really cool is that if, say for instance, you wanted to compare your distress inks. So if you wanted to make yourself a nice little tag and be able to compare in your color combos your distress inks, your distress oxides, you could do this way. So if I grabbed 2 of these, we can do a wilted violet comparison. So you can grab this out. And so on one side we can have our regular distress. And of course you've got the die cuts for these. So you don't have to worry about staying in the lines. You can die cut afterwards. And then we can just remove our post-it tape. Pop it on the other side. And I'm going to put this one to the side because otherwise I know I'm going to end up doing the same thing. Like so. Pop our lids back on. And so you can see on here, we can get a really nice comparison of our oxide versus our regular distress ink. You might also want to spritz it to show, okay, this is how the two react differently with water. I'll just give it a quick heat so you can see the difference. So you could do lots of different swatches. So say for instance, you do this color combo tag die, you could do the top one as oxide versus distress plain. You could do oxide versus distress, spritz with water. And then you might do oxide versus distressed, and you might do something different with them. You might spritz them with water and then pat them as like an ink removed through a stencil or something, just to show the difference. So then you can have one of those for each of the colours, and you'll know all of your different colours. So, and you can see there. So that's how I would do it, for instance. Then you've got this 3-1 as well. So again, you could take a piece of post-it tape. Just tear off a piece here. As always, I'll link everything in the video description for you. I'm going to need a little bit more, so I'm just going to use a piece of this purple. And for this one, I thought you could do something like your favourite holiday combination. So maybe you want to take some Lucky Clover. I love this green. And again, I love the fact that we've got the die cut, so we don't have to stay within the lines. And then we can cover up our Lucky Clover. And we're going to want to cover up this triangle this time. So you just want to keep moving your tape around. And then we could add in some festive berries. Just use a small one. So you can see I can just add in my favorite there. And then maybe I want another shade of green. So I might add in some pine needles. That's a nice Christmassy green. This one's a little bit thinner. You can see you can play around with different options, or you might want some Lucky Clover in this one and spray it just to see what difference it makes. You might only want to spritz one colour versus all of them. So say for instance I only want to spritz my my pine needles. I'll just hold this one down and I'll spritz that one. Give it a quick dry. And so only that one's going to oxidize, and I can see the contrast to all my other colors. So you can see how you can try out all these different combinations, and you can put your favorite combinations on here and just kind of try out what you like, and then cut them out, pop them on a tag. And I think this is something I would actually use versus swatching individual colors. I also like the idea of doing the contrast between my oxides versus my distress inks, because often I forget how different they look and how different they look when I spritz them with water too. So I think that's a really great idea. That's something I would find useful, and I would actually use this die to create my tag, as opposed to probably maybe the 3 tag. But again, personal preference, I always say with crafting, whatever you find you would use the most. But also it's not just down to your inks and your ink blending. You could do this with your watercolors. So I grabbed a couple of different ones of those for us to try out. I'm going to grab a few more paint brushes as well out of my drawers. Also share some of my top tips when I'm crafting with watercolors, liquid watercolors, those kinds of things. And this is why I thought it would be useful, because it's not so bad with our liquid watercolors, but say for instance we have a whole tray of watercolors like this one. It's very hard sometimes to know what some of these darker colors are, whereas we could swatch out our favorite color combinations and write Magello 502, 565 on it, and we know that that's one of our favorite color combinations. But when I'm working with liquid watercolors, I either take one. This is the Brutus Monroe Periwinkle, and these have mica in the bottom, so you do need to give them a pretty good shake before you get going. They have safety tops on them, so you can't really shake them off too easily. But then you just give them a squeeze, and I pop some on my palette over here. And I'm going to do the same with the cactus. This is a really, really pretty colour too. So this is another one of my favorite ways to do it. And then I'm going to show you another way, which is a little bit of one of my hacks that I think you'll find useful too. And this is my second way. It's a really great way to save your crafty supplies and make them last a little bit longer. So the other option I have is I get these silicone ice cube trays, and this is my Avery L one. I normally have them labeled up, but what I do is I make sure I put my drops in here, and then you'll see that they dry up a little bit. They can just reactivate them with a little bit of water. So say for instance I want to work with this one, I just give it a tiny spritz of water. I might need to add a little bit more, like the mimosa is looking a little bit short, which is I think this one. And I just add a couple of extra drops. But you'll find that the liquid watercolors will last you way, way longer by using it in here. And the silicone stops them from spilling out. So let's try some out. So if we pick up some of this, we can paint some of our favorite combinations in here, and we can do it neat at the top like this. We can also spritz ourselves some water down and add that down the bottom here so you can see, you know, how it reacts differently. So you could do different techniques. So you can do wet on dry, and then on the bottom you could try doing like a wet on wet. I have to say, when I'm doing wet on wet, I do tend to spritz my paper first because it's just quicker. And I'm going to add some of that cactus in here. Just like this. So you can try all these kinds of things out again and just try and swatch those. Or you can take another paintbrush. I'll take these are newer ones. Take a wider one, and I can pick up some colour. Again, you don't have to worry about the lines because we have those dies to cut them out with. So you can see there we can spread that mimosa out. And I have some finer brushes. Also an aqua brush works really, really well. So I'm going to go in here to add a drop of water. You can see again we can do the same. So putting it in that silicone tray will keep your colours much longer, and you just reactivate them with that little bit of water. That little bit of water of the aqua brush will make so much difference. And if you want to just clean it off, you can do that on here. Just squeeze a little bit of water out onto it, clean it on some kitchen towel, and you can move on maybe to a different shade of green. You can see there, look, I just reactivated that green. And so you can trial out some different shades again. So just a different way. And I think for me, I'm not going to keep swatching every single colour because I get lots of different supplies in that I review that I may or may not use again. But I definitely like the idea of being able to swatch out some of my favourite colour combinations, because I might use something in a card accidentally and I'm like, oh, I really like that combination, but I might not remember next time what that combination was. So there's my top tips for organising your supplies, and hopefully you got some top tips for doing some of your colour combinations. I love this waffle flower release. As always, do check that out in the description. And if you enjoyed learning some of my top tips here for storing your supplies and colouring tips, don't forget to check out our challenge as well. We have a 14-day challenge where every single day I'm going to teach you how to become a pro with alcohol markers. Check that link out in the video description. Got huge value in there as well. I'd love for you to be able to join us. Lots of surprises along the way and prizes to be won, so check that out too, and check out the new waffle flower release too. I'll see you again tomorrow, another tip trick tutorial, or maybe something a little bit different, you never know. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, of course, and give us a thumbs up for today's video if you enjoyed today's tips as well. And don't forget to hit that join button to be part of our Hedgehog Hollow community as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Happy crafting. Bye.